an owner of the Warriors?
Peter Guber?
Peter Guber?
Oh, yeah.
I forgot that somehow. Okay.
Peter Guber,
Yeah,
he's
I
the
didn't
other
realize that.
principal
He was
owner.
a huge Laker fan. He was always courtside at Laker.
Well,
games.
he's
That's true.
he's in addition to his entertainment stuff, he's also he's also a part owner of the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah.
Among other
Boy,
things.
that turned into an incredible investment.
Oh yeah. So
in fact, I was going to mention a little bit. In fact, you know what? Since Bruce isn't here, sometimes I got the article too.
Slide down?
Back? Yeah, why don't you ever just cut away when you done the show?
Just leave this chair empty in the middle.
well, I'm going to say
Yeah,
that.
let him sit there. Go on. Okay.
If you want
There's your agua.
Let's put it on the side. Yeah.
So Forbes had it valued at a little over $500 million, and now it's come out that it's valued at $800 million.
No way. The Warriors?
Yeah.
No,
Can't
man.
believe it.
Well, the guy wanted to sell the.
Yeah, but you know what? They're a winning team now. They're more
Andre,
they're on national TV 17 times this season, which is
it.
almost unheard of. Yeah, I mean it's so everything's on the upswing, and that's just kind of how it rolls.
Okay, whoever put that there.
Well, you know, it's hard
Conversely,
to
I mean that's more than the value of the A's, and it's more than the value of the Raiders.
Well, I guess part of it is they also own their own stadium, or like the Giants franchise is worth more because they own the park.
Mm-hmm.
But can you believe George Steinbrenner bought the Yankees in
From CBS.
$10 million.
From
You
CBS.
get a good home in Marin for $10 million.
Yeah,
Yeah, but how long ago was that?
Well, even
that was in 1975.
But even adjusted for inflation, that's only 40 or 50 million today.
Of
Still.
course, 75, the Yankees were.
No, but they were. I know, but
But
it's
still,
just
it's
hard
a
to
professional.
How about the Dodgers? Did you know the Dodgers are only the third team in National League history to go 40-8 at any
Yes,
point in the
yeah,
season?
we
Did you
were
see
watching.
that
I was
article?
watching. Yeah,
That's incredible.
that was amazing.
Yeah, the last 51
48.
games are 42-9.
Who's carrying the 49ers for the season?
Radio or TV?
TV.
It's an NFC team, so it's Fox. Most of the games are on
That's right.
Fox.
They changed. Yeah,
They'll be on
for
Channel
years,
2.
I just kept remembering Channel 5 for that. For years.
Yeah. Except for I was telling you, except for when they host an AFC team, then we get the game. It becomes a CBS game. If the AFC team is the travel team at the Niners, it's a CBS game.
Oh, okay. It gets up.
NFC against NFC,
Oh, and then,
Fox.
and
And-
they're
and
playing
if-
here,
and-
so
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if
that
the
works out
Niners are
great.
the road team at an AFC ballpark, it's still a Fox game. It's kind of the way. It's kind of how it rolls.
I was telling Bert at the end, I got my little thoughts today. He and I are just going to do a little play thing. It's going to be kind of fun.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so I already did the first 2-minute segment, so we'll just go right back into this. How do we want to start here? Because Mike had some good stuff.
Oh, just anything you want. I mean, we could start with we could go by the topics in here.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the trivia questions too.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, they're going to be a little harder than normal, but you may get one or two of them. Okay. So I mean, I'll just get into. You'll talk
Sure.
about financial issues facing professional athletes, and we will just go right into comparing baseball versus.
Sure.
Okay. All right. And away we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn
Hello, America.
of CBS affiliate KPIX TV. And Bruce is off today, but we do have an exciting guest, Mike Zadlin, who's been with us before. We were talking sports memorabilia.
Back by popular demand.
Exactly. But this
Damn straight.
Now, the thing is, Mike's profession is that he's a financial advisor. So one of the things we wanted to talk about was financial issues facing professional athletes. And off air, you and I were talking very interesting about comparing baseball compared to basketball players and football players. So take it away.
Sure. Well, one of the things about the big differences between, say, NFL, NBA, and NBA players is that the bulk of money for baseball players tends to come a lot later than it does for football and basketball players, many of whom receive very large contracts right out of college or within a few years of playing. Baseball players, on the other hand, tend to have much smaller signing bonuses, say $100,000 on average. It's only the top 20 or 30 picks who get the big money in baseball. when they sign. Most of them sign for $50,000 to $100,000, and then have about 3 years on average in the minor leagues where they're paid about $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and many make less than that. And so they've got about
Well, this is on average.
on average.
Okay.
And so the typical baseball player is faced with getting in only in their late 20s are they likely to even be eligible for arbitration and make the really big money, because even in their first few years in the majors, they're not in the majors the whole year, and the major league minimum is $490,000.
Well, compare that to football, where the average length is about 3-5 years, and so those guys are probably retiring at age 28 on average.
Are you talking about football
Football,
players?
yeah.
Well, and if
Long
not
in the tooth by then.
and if not by choice, by injury, because of the high
Yeah.
rate of injuries in football careers. But baseball players tend to be able to go about 5 or 6 years of budgeting, living with much less income, and getting accustomed to that and being older when they finally do get the bigger money. And that, I think, accounts for a lot of the differences in why so many NBA and NFL athletes are broke within a few years of retirement, and relatively fewer baseball players are. And to say nothing of tennis players or golfers who come from different socioeconomic backgrounds and are more likely to have grown up in a household that had professional advisors or other exposure to things than, say, players from poorer backgrounds, which probably tend to predominate more in the NBA and NFL, I would think.
Across the board, most of maybe your clients or maybe clients in the business among the sporting world are do you know if there's a percentage of basketball, percentage of baseball, football that come to you guys right from the jump?
I don't. I do know that the NFL has set up a program of approved financial advisors, which is a good step. And I think they're the only major sports league that does that. And they put together a list. And of course, a player doesn't have to go to any of those advisors on that list, but the agents are required, if they do recommend an advisor, to recommend an advisor on that list. And that's probably a pretty good first step, especially given that the advisors have to be fiduciaries, which of course is very uncommon in the industry as a whole. Most financial professionals are brokers, commission-based, and not fiduciaries.
Well, you guys saw the 30 for 30?
Yeah, broke? Sure.
Yeah. And so they were talking about this. We were gleaning some of this really kind of very interesting information. Like NFL players, they get, if I understand it correctly, don't they get paid during the season, and then the off season? I mean, in theory, they're supposed to have saved their money.
Well, all contracts are different. All arrangements are different, but by and large, across the board, usually you'll get paid during the season.
Yeah, and then the season goes. You know what? I mean, assuming preseason counts, August to February. I mean, that's a lot of months of not getting paid. You got to do some good budgeting and hand-holding. So,
Yeah, that was an incredible show.
And other leagues step in. They do all these seminars where they try to advise you to tell you what you should do or maybe the things to look for to avoid getting in trouble. But I don't know across the board how many of those guys actually listen or even go, as you had said.
Yeah. Well, they're so young that they think they're invincible.
Absolutely.
So they're not going to get injured. And their career, they don't think about, gee, when I'm 55 years old. I mean, they just don't think in those terms.
And then there's the added social economic effect. A lot of these guys that come into the league, maybe they're the sole breadwinner for the entire family, and they've
come from a single mother.
Exactly, those kind of things where they needed to land big. I mean, they needed to get the big money so they could take care of mom, dad, aunts, uncles, cousins, people that really need the help. They're depending on you solely.
That's a great point. I'm sure you saw Deion Sanders' Hall of Fame induction speech, where he talked about how he was the sole breadwinner, in his family, and that his mother raised him and was a maid, and he was just often embarrassed by that, and he knew he had to make a big name for himself in order to save her.
Yeah,
It's really
versus
touching,
the average golfer. I mean, to play golf is fairly expensive. So the guy who's the average golfer probably has a decent upbringing, financially. So he doesn't have to worry about providing for his family.
Yeah, I have not. Yeah, show me a PGA golfer that's made it, that's come from the hood and the mean streets of pick the industrial town.
Yeah,
Haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, even exactly. And that's probably one reason why NFL and NBA players come, are really financially strapped when they retire because the first thing they often do is buy a home for their parents.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas players, tennis players, golfers, and many baseball players probably grew up in a home in a higher socioeconomic.
A good point.
Yeah.
Also, guys like LeBron and Kobe, they got drafted right out of high school, and then they start playing right away.
Yep.
Versus we were talking before with baseball. Let's say you get drafted out of high school, but you generally don't, generally speaking, go right
Yeah,
into
every now and then you'll see a Robin Yount.
Yeah,
that'll
or Dwight Gooden.
exactly.
Like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
otherwise,
Bryce Harper. That'll just go boom.
Yeah, because what are they getting paid in the
Well,
Double A?
they're making about $2,000 a month at Double A.
Woohoo!
And $25 meal money every day. Let's not forget that.
Okay, don't forget. That's a
So
lot of
imagine
money.
imagine how big the eyes got for members of the Birmingham Barons when Michael Jordan rolls on up there in the mid 1990s to play baseball in the White Sox organization, and he buys the team a bus so they can go. A tricked out, custom made bus so they can go from town to town.
I like that.
Yeah, but one of the big problems with players getting big contracts early is the lack of deferred compensation too. And it's almost, to give a 21, 22-year-old a $20 million contract in which he or she, he can collect most of it over the next 4 or 5 years, it's almost setting the athlete up for failure. I can't even imagine 21-year-olds from very well-educated and very higher socioeconomic backgrounds doing well with that money. And that's why even as most estate planners, when parents come to them and say, we want to leave an inheritance to our children, but we want to make sure they don't get it all at once. So we want some of it to go to them when they're 25, some when they're 35, and then when they're 45 to get the rest, so that life experience can help them make financial decisions better over time.
Well, let me role play for just a second. Let's just say I come to you, I just signed a contract with the NFL, and let's just say I'm second, third string linebacker, okay? So maybe my signing bonus is $7 million. I come rolling up to you, I sit in your office just like we're sitting right now. I'm like, hey, here's $7 million right now. What do I do?
Okay, and Mike, you're going to answer that after the
Ooh, that's a
break.
tease.
Yeah, there's a tease for you. Okay, the trivia theme is old baseball. Figured we got Mike here. He loves baseball. You love baseball. I love baseball. Everybody loves baseball. Okay, first trivia question. Which baseball player had 1,815 hits in his home stadium and 1,815 on the road? So exactly 50-50, okay? So obviously he was a 3,000 hit hitter. The first 3 callers with the correct answer won a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website is lighthouse4fun.com. Call 888-660-4495 to answer this question. Which baseball player had 50% of his hits, 1,815, in his home stadium and the other half on the road? 888-660-4495. Make sure to include your name, email address, speak slowly, spell out your email one letter at a time. Don't touch that dial. We will be back on Sports Econ 101, and the hint is he is a Hall of Famer. Of course, with over 3,000 hits, you probably assume that.
Okay. Yeah, that narrows it down. Thanks.
Sorry. We'll be right back. Big hit, huh?
Stan Musial.
Wow.
Yes.
Because I knew he had 630 hits.
Oh,
He's a machine.
Yeah. I should have just said over 3,000 hits. Yeah, that's okay.
Who were you going to guess?
I was trying to formulate one in my mind before you.
It could have been Aaron. It could be Mays. It could be any of those guys who had 3,000. I just happened to. I like your question, by the way. I have to think about that. I needed a break.
Okay.
No, I mean that's a standard, solid.
Nope,
okay, I would say I'm a struggling black kid, but let's just say I've gone through the system at Missouri, and here's my start. They give me $7 million for signing my name.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, that's
and maybe I'm smart enough to say, hey, Mike, hey, when I'm done, I want to take $2.5 million. I want to defer it, so when I'm done, there it is.
Yeah.
Plus,
Sure.
you know, the tax implications you have to
Absolutely.
think about.
Yeah,
That's
you're
a
going to have to
major
help me
part.
out with this. This is a good question.
Can I, can
And
I take 2.5? Can I put it in a, what do you call it? I'm not,
Deferred comp?
what do you call it? Yeah, high yield. What do you call
What,
it?
you mean like a 401k?
Well, you
I
could-
think,
you could
or-
buy
Yeah, but
annuity.
some with the highest. Yeah, where you just forget about it. It's just there. Let's just say I have a 10-year career.
Yeah.
You know, I want it
Some
to
annuity
work
or
for me
something.
while
For a
it's.
fixed annuity, probably.
Yeah.
Just be careful of your. Is it that it picks up the.
Well, I was
yeah,
doing
I
that
know.
for emphasis. I was.
I gotta get you a
Radio
pad so you
101,
can-
bam.
yeah. It just comes across though.
Sometimes I'll do that. I'll do that on TV. I'll pound
really?
the desk.
Oh,
For,
that's
oh yeah,
But see, you can see that though.
true.
Yeah, so it's a
Yeah.
little.
In fact, I'm on tonight.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Gotta catch you on that. You know, it's funny. I saw you. I was in the Bay Club and taking a shower. Come out of the shower, and they always have the TV on. Usually sports, sometimes business. But I hear, that movie sounds familiar. And I look, and there's Vern doing the after 49er game
Post game show.
post game show. Okay, ready, guys? Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn, KPIX TV, CBS affiliate. We're also in the studio here with Mike Zalin, who's talking finances and athletes. When we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Which baseball player had 1,815 hits in his home stadium and 1,815 on the road? Mike, you knew the answer.
Yes, I think it's Stan Musial.
It is Stan Musial. How'd you know that?
I knew that because I had a very misspent youth studying baseball statistics instead of math and English, and I remembered that he had 3,630 hits. I'm a little embarrassed to say I still remember that.
Don't be embarrassed, man.
Yeah, I think your English
I'm
is
marveling
gooder
at the
than
knowledge.
Yeah, your English is gooder than most.
IR,
Yeah.
great speaking.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you knew you had 3,630 hits. Okay, so Vern, ask your question again to Mike.
Yeah, okay. Let's just say I'm Tank Smith. I had a distinguished career at Missouri. I was a linebacker, and Carolina Panthers saw it well enough where they drafted me in the second round, and then I'm coming in there. They gave me a $7 million signing bonus, just slotted according to it. It just nothing. But I'm coming to you, Mike. What do I do with this money? I don't want to be on some ESPN documentary down the road.
Yeah.
How much do I take? Do I defer it? What do I do?
Okay, well,
I'm in your hands.
if you're going to be on an ESPN documentary, we're going to make sure it's for the Monday evening game highlights or something.
Thank you.
Not for financial problems.
Or for the financial aptitude that
That's
you
right.
have.
The next
Yeah.
Magic Johnson,
Yeah.
who, by the way, everything he's ever touched has turned to gold. Apparently,
Is that
in the
right?
investment world, absolutely. The latest being the Dodger
Yeah.
investment.
Oh yeah.
But to your question, the first question, of course, I'd want to know is besides the signing bonus, what's the salary and for how long? Typically, a signing bonus is accompanied with 5-year contract.
Mhm.
So that would give me an idea of the total compensation. And given that most players only sign one contract in their career, I'd probably assume that that's all he's ever going to see from that sport. Perhaps it's probably a safe investment. The other question is the contract guaranteed? Not all NFL contracts are guaranteed.
That's true.
But let's assume that it's another $3 or $4 million a year in addition to the $7 million signing bonus. The first thing I'd say is buy a home, buy a reasonable home
For myself.
for yourself
Okay.
and for your future family.
All cash.
All cash. And then you've got that element of stability.
Samsonite luggage, just stack some one, just no escrow, no nothing.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Right,
I'll
so you
take
gotta
the
make sure
house.
you get title insurance.
And,
Right?
and no 52,000 square foot homes, please.
Okay, all right.
3 bedrooms, 2 baths.
Just what I need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but the most important question: how big is my entourage?
Well,
How many
hopefully,
people can I have?
Hopefully your wife and kids.
Okay. Oh, you're too boring.
Well, that's true. And that's the secret to good investing is being boring. More exciting the investment, the worse the investment. It's all about turtles and avoiding the dopamine effect of investing, which you get when you invest in the long shot. That's why people play the lotto and invest in IPOs and private equity.
Well, two things, Mike, I forgot to tell you. I signed it and I'm about to start my career, but I got a real problem with this. I mean, my mom's, my mom's in foreclosure with their home. I want to be able to save her. Uncle Bob, and a couple of these, they need help. And then, Mike, how do I avoid? People know I have this money. I mean, I'm a target. How do I say no? What do I do?
I got it. You say it's your problem, right?
Well,
They have to come to you.
clearly, when it's a parent and they've got a financial problem, you're obligated to help them out.
Okay.
Friends are another story because friends tend to not become friends once you don't have any money too. So you have to really choose wisely there. But I think the best thing is for you to be on a budget, and that way you can always say, "Oh, that's all my finances are tied up. I'd love to help you out, but I've got a budget and I can't really do much here." And you've got to learn to say no. If you don't learn to say no, it's just not going to happen.
And with the signing bonus and everything, you really need a good tax guy.
Absolutely, because taxes are 50%.
Yeah, a lot of people forget about that.
Yeah.
And in fact, we were talking about.
Explain. Let's get into that a little bit. All right, it's a $7 million. So do I get this check for $7 million, or does Uncle Sam step in and go, "Yeah, I'll take some of that"?
They'll definitely take some of that, which is why a lot of it should be deferred, if possible, into lower earning years where you're going to pay less taxes when you're in your 30s or 40s and not making $5 million a year for football.
I wonder if they'll give you more money if you say, "I'll set up a deferred." Because if let's say you're the Yankees, I'm just giving you, or you Carolina Panthers, right? Mm-hmm. And instead of them having to write a check for $7 million, if you give them the opportunity, say, "Listen, just give me $2 million now, defer the other $5 million, but not $5 million. I mean, if you're going to give it to me 10 years from now, the time value of money, they should give you more than $5 million."
And that's easily accomplished by a team. They can simply go and buy options on the futures or invest it in, treasury bonds or something conservative. And basically, that is what agents do when they negotiate these contracts. Typically, is they say, "Look, I don't want my client to get the $1 million 20 years from now when $1 million is only going to be worth $500,000. So we're going to index it to inflation or to something where the club can then go out and buy an option contract so that it still maintains its value."
Just don't let the IRS be in the conversation, because they'll say, "Wait a minute, if you had the right to take the $7 million, we're going to tax you as though you."
And there are clearly IRS regulations. I think there's Section 409. I'm not sure which, where they determine whether or not you meet the rules to qualify for the deferred. Otherwise, they're going to tax you, and you'll end up paying more than when you got all the money to begin with. So.
And speaking of the IRS, Mike, I mean, I'm just new to the league, but somebody told me that throughout the course of the season, in whatever city, state I'm playing in,
right.
I have to file taxes in all those states.
Typically, yeah, and as well as foreign countries.
Which we were talking about Scotland. What happened?
The tournament, I think.
If I go to Wembley Stadium, if the Panthers are playing the Miami Dolphins in London, I get hosed there too.
Oh, you and the English tax authorities are going to be
very
good friends.
But the thing is, generally, because of the treaties between countries, you'll get a credit for the taxes that you paid in England on your federal return. So you don't get necessarily doubly taxed there. Does that make sense?
Now, can you imagine if you're I mean, I'm 51 and my head's about to explode.
Yeah.
Imagine being 21 and having to like filter all this information. It's just too much.
It's way too much.
And it's critical to get yourself into the hands of someone who really understands this and is fully trustworthy, because you are going to have all those temptations of friends coming up and endless temptations that any 21-year-old would face, much less a 21-year-old entertainer who's on the national stage.
Also, what about the sports agent? Does he get paid? I mean, if you take your $7 million check right now and he gets, what's typical, 4% or 10%?
I think 3%.
3%?
Yeah.
Okay. 3% standard, he gets $210,000. If you do a deferred plan, how does that come into effect with how much the agent gets paid today versus...
Well, isn't the sports agent, isn't he the one making these arrangements, or is it the financial advisor making these arrangements with this team?
Well, I think a lot of sports agents do a really good job in putting their clients into the hands of a professional staff of a tax attorney, an accountant, and a financial advisor.
When you're talking those kind of dollars, you really do need
absolutely.
that. Okay, tell you what, because we've only got so much
fascinating,
time.
man.
There's a lot. We could do this for hours, but in fact, speaking of the finances here, I was thinking about the Dodgers historic run, right? What are they, 42-9 the last
51 games, something like that? Yeah.
So I'm wondering, is finally this high payroll paying off, right? And very similar to how the Yankees, remember how they used to kind of buy the pennants? My dad used to hate the Yankees in the 40s and 50s because he said, God, all they do is just spend money to buy the highest players to win the pennants. Mm-hmm. And the Dodgers did that a couple of years ago and it just wasn't paying off. Now it seems like it really is, isn't it?
Yeah, although you have to give them some credit for producing homegrown talent like Clayton Kershaw.
Yep.
They didn't obtain it all by trading it. Actually, the Yankees of the '90s are really interesting because people always say, "Oh, they just bought their talent." But look at all the players from the Yankees of the '90s who came up through the system. Derek Jeter,
yeah.
the greatest reliever of all time, Mariano Rivera, Bernie Williams, outstanding center fielder, and a couple others, Andy Pettitte. And there was a lot of homegrown talent on those teams.
Okay, so maybe the Yankees of the '90s weren't the same as the Yankees of the '50s. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. And then, did you hear about Kiss purchasing a football team from Los Angeles?
The LA Kiss.
The LA Kiss, of course.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of fun. Let's see here.
It's an arena team, right? Arena
Yeah,
football?
it's arena football. And I figured that they'll save some money if they do their own halftime show, right?
Which they probably will.
They probably will for fun. That would be kind of neat. Okay. One other thing about how about future expenses for the retiring sports athletes? Healthcare. They put that on
Hot
the show.
button issue now.
Yeah, especially with these guys with concussions and other injuries. I mean, how do you plan for that?
Well, I think for one, you want eventually you want to buy a disability policy in case you get injured.
That's what Brian Bosworth did.
Yeah, in case your injuries are debilitating, because so many players, an NFL career basically destroys your body over time. I think it was John Madden who recently said if you played one game in the NFL, you'd remember it for the rest of your life. In terms of
they have pads.
Yeah, of course. But Vern, I wanted to actually finish answering your question about what to do after you bought the house, and that is basically you want to invest as conservatively as possible in very boring, very, very dry mutual funds, low-cost index funds, and be on a budget. And that's pretty much it. And you want to do it consistent with your tax bracket.
Okay, we're gonna get back into all that good stuff. We do have to come to our second commercial break here. All right, remember how we did the consistency of 1,815 hits on the road and 1,815 at home? All right, which pitcher had 363 wins and 363 hits? So obviously we're not talking about someone fairly recent in the American League. The first three callers with the correct answer won a free three. I see the eyebrows go up on both of them. This will be fun. Yeah. The first three callers with the correct answer won a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-660-4495 to answer this question. Which pitcher had 360 wins and 360 hits? 363 wins and 363 hits. Call 888-660-4495. Make sure to include your name, your email address, speak slowly, spell out your email one letter at a time. I know you guys have heard of this pitcher. Don't touch that dial because Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
Cy Young?
No, he had 500.
I would guess Warren Spahn.
Yes.
Warren Spahn.
Holy crap.
It's amazing.
I never went to school.
Warren Spahn.
That's impressive, Mike.
Well, I thought it was either him or Maddox, because Maddox was a great hitter, too.
Yeah, that would have been a good guess, too.
Well,
I think we're talking
Maddox
old baseball.
Old baseball.
So yeah, wow, that's impressive.
Just think of all I could have accomplished without knowing that.
He's embarrassed by knowing this.
I'll ask you this on the air. A lot of these guys who made big money but got hurt, like Montana, they filed workman's comp with the state, and it just kind of raised it became an issue. But
do you remember
Montana says, "Hey, I have just as much enough of a right to do it as anybody else."
And we did bring that up some weeks back, because talking about state disability insurance and
But doesn't workman's comp, isn't it really small compensation ultimately?
I have no idea.
I mean, you're not going to get $1 million a year from
no.
It's like it's standard. It's fixed by law.
Yes.
It's low. It's low. But that's interesting.
But there's still entitled to it, though.
Yeah. Oops. So I think that's a great question. What do you do with the $7 million or any amount? It's you really invest. Just invest conservatively. You keep them at all costs away from any business deals. Like that's like no. Because only 1 out of 30 work out. The nightclub. The record studio. It's like, they're all gonna fail.
I could just see these kids. I mean, they've got their boys. Hey man, come on, man. Hey man, let's go make it rain, man. Hey,
I don't know how they can even resist.
Yeah.
They're, in a way, you
Now
got
get another bottle of Cristal, man. Yeah, man. You know.
Yeah, or don't tell me you've changed. What, money ruined you? Oh, no, money didn't ruin me. I'll show you. I'll give it away.
Right.
Those guys know how to manipulate people. And then, you know what? They're like, oh, we've got a great business deal. My father-in-law. Look at Bernie Kosar and his father. God. That show was, I was just so impressed with what good people those guys are. They try to, the first thing they do is they buy their parents a home. They're generous. But that's what's killing them. They're too generous. They're generous to the wrong people. You want to be generous to your family, but all the guys in the hood and stuff. So you put them on a budget and they go, my agent will. You put them on a budget and they go, my financial advisor keeps all my money. Back, the son of a gun. He won't let me have any of it. Then you're like,
well, fire the man.
Yeah. No, that really, because once they. So here's the thing, deferred compensation. You know what happens now? Once the agent negotiates the deferred compensation contract, there are all these businesses set up to approach the player and say, all that deferred compensation, we'll give you a lump sum right now.
Yeah.
Hey, you want financial control of your destiny, don't
let's
you?
bring that up.
Yeah.
That's a good
Bring that point out. All these guys saying, oh, we'll go. No.
Because I think
it's worse. It would have been better off taking the money to begin with.
Totally. And then they pay immediate tax on it.
A lot of these guys like Sean Estes, Tom Tolbert. For years after they were done playing, they were still getting paid by the clubs because they deferred their money.
Yeah, well, Bobby Bonilla, remember we talked about that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Here we go. Ready? Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn, and we have Mike Zaitlin in the audience here. In the studio here. Okay, when we cut to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Which pitcher had 360 wins and 360 hits? 360, God, I keep saying that. 363 wins and 363 hits.
Mike,
you know that one too.
Well, unfortunately I do. It's Warren Spahn.
See, and he's embarrassed that he knows the answer to that.
I think of all I could have accomplished if I'd actually gone to high school and grade school.
Yeah, except that
Mike's one of those guys.
Yeah,
you're one of these guys in school. You 1 minute you go, boy, I don't know if I really studied that well for it, and then he sets the curve for the rest of the class. But.
Well, I can tell you in high school, I didn't know the questions on the history test, so I wrote Warren Spahn, 363 wins, 363 hits, and I still got an F. So
except for today, you did well.
Yes.
So, Mike, off air, you were bringing up a very interesting subject about the deferred comp and some companies what they do out there.
Yeah. Well, as I was saying, it's usually a really good strategy to defer at least some of the compensation into years where taxes will be lower and the player has learned how to manage money in the interim.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the big problems today is that there are many companies set up to take advantage of the athlete who does that by going to the athlete and saying, oh, all that deferred compensation, wouldn't you rather have it now? We'll give you a lump sum right now and you sign over your right to that deferred compensation and then you can control your financial destiny. Isn't that great?
Which is worse than if they would have gotten the check to begin with, because I'm sure they take a hefty fee, like payday loan.
Oh, yeah. I don't think they're doing it for the athlete.
How many guys have you heard that that's happened to?
I don't know personally how many that's happened to, but if you go and you look online, you'll see tons of references to athletes being offered that, and businesses getting on athletes. So I don't know personally how often it's happened.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that that business isn't. It's not that it's an illegitimate business. I mean, there are reasons, like same thing with people who have life insurance policies where they're going to be dying in 6 months and they need the money now, and you can assign policies like that.
And you can see why that could be a good idea. There could be a social benefit to that. Yeah. But for the athlete, it's never a good idea.
How risky is the restaurant business? I mean, you see, whether it's Mike Ditka's or whatever.
Don Shula.
Yeah, Don Shula's. I mean, there's restaurants, Michael Jordan's. There's restaurants all over the place, even in airports.
Yeah, I've read where 29 out of 30 private business deals don't work out. Whether it's recording studios, nightclubs, car dealerships, any of these kinds of private business, the athlete should stay away from every single one.
Well, think about that for a minute. So if only 1 out of 30 hits, and suddenly let's just say if someone were to tell you, hey, I just made 10 times on my money on this, and you think that that's good, but that's not. You'd have to make 30 times on your money just to break even.
Yeah, but don't some of these business might come up and go, hey, we got a group of investors, but we'd like to tie your name to it.
As long as you don't have to put money in and you
Yeah.
sign your name, and it's not going to bring you
Sure.
down.
Yeah, I
Sure,
think
why
I think
not?
in the case of say like I was in Denver Airport the other day, John Elway's got a restaurant in the Elway. It's called Elway's, but maybe maybe
He
he
just
put
lets
up
his name to
yeah
it.
maybe just lit his name maybe a half point whatever and then
Sure.
and everybody else has got the real money.
That's fine.
I think something like that happened with Magic Johnson with the Dodgers. They really wanted him involved in it for many reasons, but he also recognized that it was a good business move too, and so he invested his own money. But I think in any case,
In fact, he had to cash in his ownership shares in the Lakers, I believe, to get into the Dodgers.
is that right? I didn't know.
Really?
Yeah. Something he had to get out.
It was a lot.
Yeah,
It was a lot of money.
He does. Yeah.
But business deals are very dangerous for people in general and for athletes in particular, because they're much likely to do their own due diligence and much likely to get seduced by the thought of a great payoff.
Well,
And
like you
they're too
said,
young and they lack the judgment, and they really should always use a business attorney to vet any potential deal.
Well, like you said, that there's the excitement in a nightclub or a restaurant. There's the mutual funds only excite people like me.
Oh yeah, mutual funds are not sexy at all. But as I was saying, and all investors potentially suffer from this. That's why people went out and bought tech stocks in 2000 or bought real estate in 2007. It's believe it or not, studies of brain chemistry show that the longer the odds of a payoff, the more exciting it is, and that's why people buy lotto tickets and invest in IPOs and the nightclub that may or may not pay off. And if you go and buy Vanguard mutual funds that look like grass growing, there's nothing sexy about that.
Well, and part of it is for the most part, when you buy your mutual funds, you're setting your ceiling, so to speak. I mean, you're not going to make 10 times on your money in 2 years,
Right. Or lose it.
But the thing is,
Exactly.
when you see that there's a limitation of how
Sure.
much you can, for the most part, make, like you said, it's just not sexy enough.
It's not going to impress the guys in the locker room.
So it would be worth it to me. Let's just say I'm, star athlete or budding star athlete with the Carolina Panthers. It's worth it to me to spend the money to get a guy that knows as much as you guys right here on the show, and that I can trust, that knows the ins and outs and knows exactly how I can be able to, get the big money as my career goes on.
That's got to be the best money spent, I would think.
I would think it is, especially if the money is not spent on commissions or spent on with a person who has a conflict of interest in the product that you're buying, but is rather just giving you fiduciary-based advice that is solely and only in your interest. Well, that's not as easy to find as you might think.
Well, just for fun, I'm going to give Mike a little plug here, because I really appreciate the way he does his financial advising. He doesn't charge a commission, and he also doesn't charge based on a percentage of assets. He charges based on the job, so to speak, or the advice given. It's not so much of an hourly rate, but and again, this isn't not supposed to be a commercial for you, but I just thought it was. I'll take it. Yeah, I just appreciate the way he does it. So when he's talking about
give a plug, because there's a lot of people listening out here that and watching that want to know more about this, that this program can provide,
Sure.
given the time constraints that we have.
Most of my job is talking people out of doing things. It's talking them into doing one thing or two things and knocking down every other idea they come with, basically, because most of them are bad.
Have you got a great success story? Do you have like a guy that was just, man, he was on the verge of just losing it, and then you came in, couple of percentage of pearls of wisdom, and then boom, man, this guy's living fat up high on the hill with a nice view.
No such story, I'm afraid. But what I try to do is keep that from ever having happened in the first place.
Well, I was gonna say, you say that maybe rather like you said, because he does more of the boring kind of, making sure people get decent returns.
Any of them come back to you, Mike, and go, boy, Mike, man, thanks a lot.
Yeah,
without you, boy, I didn't, man,
I was also never invested as
exactly.
Investment.
Usually they take credit for their own success.
Of course,
there's an old saying, success has 1,000 fathers and failures an orphan. So
Yeah. See, when they're at a cocktail party, they all talk about how great their investment.
But hopefully somewhere along the line they appreciate it.
Okay. Changing the subject here for a minute. Ryan Sandberg is replacing Charlie Manuel of the Phillies. What do you think about that?
I talked to somebody in Philadelphia the other day on the day that it happened, and he stays pretty close to what the Phillies are doing, and he's just said it was just a matter of upper management just wanting to go in a different direction. They knew the Phillies were out of it. They weren't going to make any kind of inroads for the rest of the season. We got Sandberg. We like him. Let's just do it now. See what he's got for these next 60 games or whatever, and then move forward.
Well, that was kind of my
But
point.
Charlie's going to stay. It's not like they showed him the door. I mean, he's going to stay in the organization in another capacity.
Okay. Because one of the things I'm thinking about is that isn't there the population aging on the Phillies? The guys are they're a little bit more getting the veteran. They don't have the young, spry guys.
Well, actually, they've brought up some young players. Darren Ruff, I think one of them is, and a third baseman named Ash.
They're going to bring up more after September 1st when the rosters expand.
But they do have old players like Mike Young, but they have Dominic Brown. He's young too, and
Jimmy Rollins.
Did you know that? Oh, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. Did you know that the longest National League double play combination in history is Chase Utley and Jimmy Rollins?
How many
12
years?
years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you know what the all-time?
a chance?
Do you know what the all-time longest double play combination is in Major League Baseball?
But tell me.
Joe Moore.
It's pretty recent. Come on, you guys. Come on. It was in the 80s and early 90s.
You're catching me off with the Giants.
Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker.
Wow. Yeah.
19,
Good one.
19 years.
Wow.
19 years.
Boy, just to be a short
Tram.
19 years.
Isn't
Yeah.
that amazing?
That is amazing. I guess what I was getting at is that if you have older players and they're just not playing well enough, and you just keep blaming the manager, I mean, hey, you can only do with what you've got. And
Right.
You're kind of fledgling, but
The players the general manager gave you.
that's it.
Speaking of Tram, I was able to see one of the last few games at Tiger Stadium. I saw Trammell play. Ernie Harwell was doing the play-by-play. It was awesome. But you go by there now, just an open field with just a few ruins of the gates that were outside of the stadium, and then the flagpole that's way out in the center, that's still there, and then the original home plate. But everything else, gone.
Is home plate still there?
Home plate is still there. People come in, take pictures, and play catch around there.
I mean, that's where Ty Cobb batted and Babe Ruth. That's a really historic place.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's,
I like that.
That's where those guys played, and there aren't too many stadiums still standing where that happened. I think Fenway Park's the only other one.
I was just going to mention real quickly about Little League World Series. That's my favorite time of year. I love watching those kids. So last week there was a no-hitter by 6'4", 166-pound Grant Holman. Now,
Is that the kid from Chula Vista?
Actually, I think this guy is from the East.
Okay.
From New England, I think. Anyway, I was thinking about this. Okay, so he's 11 or 12 years old, right? 6'4".
Hopefully.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, not Danny Almonte type thing. He's 6'4", 166 pounds. Okay, now on my license, when I was 16, I was 5'3", 105 pounds.
Wow.
I probably could have passed for 11 years
I'm
old.
50.
So,
I'm 51, and I'm 5'3" today.
Yeah. I mean, this wasn't supposed to be. I wasn't trying to. Get into
I guess we can
But I
assume
did-
you weren't a high NFL draft choice.
No, in fact, it's funny because when I was doing bowling and I was turning semi-pro, they needed my dad to sign off because I was 17 years old, and the guy said, "Now listen, you understand you're not going to be able to play professional sports." I said, "I'm 5'3", 105 pounds. What are you going to be, a middle linebacker?"
Right.
Okay.
Did you have a spare ball, and did you have the
A few of them.
the spare ball is straight, right? The other ball is the one that curves, right?
Back then we just had
Just one ball.
Well, no.
Oh.
We had spare ones, but we didn't throw straight ones. In fact,
Okay.
I still can't throw a straight ball. Okay, here is our third and final trivia question. Who are the only two right-handed? I gotta get Mike on this one. Okay, who are the only two right-handed throwing, solely left-handed hitters who amass more than 3,000 hits? Of course, the 3,000 hit club is only so big. The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse.
Through right, batted left.
Through right, batted left. Yeah. So you
Okay.
can't count any switch hitters, right? Because it's solely left-handed hitters. Call 888-660-4495 to answer this question. Who are the only two right-handed throwing, solely left-handed hitters who amassed more than 3,000 hits? Make sure to include your name, your email address, speak slowly, spell out your email one letter at a time. Don't touch that dial because Sports Econ 101 will have some closing thoughts.
Okay, it has to be an infielder because anybody who played the infield would have to throw right. An
Unless they're a
outfielder,
first baseman.
right? Unless they're
Oh, throw right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, every
Okay,
infielder has to throw right. So Pete Rose comes to mind because he played second and third.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first one. And what other infielder had? I don't think he's an outfielder. We're just guessing.
Ricky was a switch hitter, huh? Ricky threw right.
Ricky was the opposite. He actually threw left and batted
Yeah.
right. He's one
which
of the
is
few who
weird.
ever did
my,
that.
My brother was like that too. I couldn't
Very
understand
odd.
that.
That's very rare in baseball
rare.
history.
That's actually a good trivia
Yeah,
question.
that is too. Okay, come on. Who's the other infielder? Oh, God. Eddie Collins. I think it was Eddie Collins. Left-handed.
That's all you, Mike, man. I have no idea.
Sorry, Fern. I got to get something that's a
I'm
little bit.
stumped.
Maybe Tony. I'm thinking of the left-hand hitter. Tony Gwynn had 3,000 hits.
Did he throw right?
I don't remember if he threw right.
I think he threw right.
Do you think so? Tony Gwynn? Then it's Tony Gwynn.
I've got a son at home. Throws right, bats left.
Perfect.
Golf's left. Right's left.
Ideal cards left. That's about it.
Yeah.
Okay, don't forget our little thing at the end.
You got it. Oh, is it the segment? Is this it?
This will be the segment.
Okay, good.
Okay. The only other thing I had here was Chris Hansen's failed bid to buy the Sacramento Kings. And then I guess you could mention the Warriors.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Vern Glenn, and we've got Mike Zaidlin in the studio here. When we cut to the third commercial break, we asked a trivia question. Who are the only two right-handed throwing, solely left-handed hitters who amassed more than 3,000 hits? Not collectively, obviously.
Right.
Gentlemen?
Well, I just realized it wasn't Pete Rose because Pete Rose was a switch hitter.
That is correct.
I would guess Tony Gwynn, possibly.
Nope. But you did have one of them correct when you were guessing off
Ty Cobb.
air. Ty Cobb is correct,
Okay,
and
that's purely a guess.
Eddie Collins.
Eddie
You
Collins,
did
you
say
said
Eddie
that under your
Collins.
breath
That's right.
during the break.
Well,
Okay. One last thing I wanted to mention here was Chris Hansen's failed bid to buy the Sacramento Kings and relocate to Seattle. Holy smokes! And Vern, we were talking about, or you had mentioned before about
The value of the Golden State Warriors, which was, I guess, once upon a time, just pretty much a laughing stock in the NBA. I mean, it was like Golden State. Where do they even play? I mean, nobody even knew. And then all of a sudden, they had a transfer of ownership, and they had a commitment to these players. They got a good coach, and now here's a franchise that was bought by Peter Guber and Joe Lacob for just over $500 million, according to Forbes several months ago, and now
it's worth what, $800?
$800 million. Wow.
See, that's not boring. That's exciting.
that is
Okay,
exciting.
hey guys, we're gonna cut
I'm
to
excited.
our thoughts for the day. First of all,
They're doing something right.
Yeah, really,
They're on national TV 17 times this year.
that's pretty good.
Yeah, Steph
Okay.
Curry.
Vince Lombardi said, confidence is contagious. So is lack of confidence. I thought that was pretty good.
Yep.
Okay. And, hey, Vern.
Yeah.
Smell this rag. Does that smell like chloroform to you? Vern?
Right.
Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. By then, Vern will have woken up.
Snap out of it.
Yeah, Mike, you're going to have to wake him up. And we'll be discussing sports topics from a business perspective, and we're going to be giving away more vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Mike Zaidlin, thank you for being in the studio with us.
Thank you.
On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We'll see you next week. So long.
Wow, that was a hell of a question. I mean, I was just naming people who had 3,000 hits who I didn't even know.
That's the thing.
I didn't even know the answer.
I mean, how many people? What, 15 people?
I can't even remember because a couple have gotten it recently. recently Eddie Murray got it, and Craig Biggio, I think.
Oh yeah.
Some guys have just
And then
gotten
Tony
over.
Gwynn,
Yeah. Some guys have just gotten over the wire.
Stop this bad boy here.
Wow.